I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. The New York Attorney General Tish James just filed a motion for a preliminary injunction against Donald Trump in New York in connection with her $250 million fraud lawsuit brought by the New York AG's office based on Donald Trump inflating his net worth, inflating the valuations of his properties to try to get more favorable loan terms and more favorable insurance terms. And in this preliminary injunction motion, Tish James is stating that Donald Trump is engaged in an ongoing pattern of fraud and misconduct to this day. Since the lawsuit was filed on September 21st, Trump has not stopped engaging in the fraud, Letitia James argues in her motion for a preliminary injunction. And get this, she argues that one of the things Trump did on the date that she announced her filing of the lawsuit, the $250 million fraud lawsuit, that Donald Trump created another organization, a Delaware corporation called Trump Organization 2. In other words, Trump is trying to create and restructure Trump Organization 1, at least what Tish James is concerned about, to try to transfer assets to Trump Organization number 2. If indeed he loses this lawsuit and is forced to disgorge or return at least the $250 million Letitia James is seeking. Specifically, what the order of the Attorney General, what Tish James is asking for, is an order that would prohibit the Trump Organization from submitting a statement of financial condition or other asset disclosure for Mr. Trump to lenders and insurers, either to satisfy existing obligations or obtain new financing and insurance that fails to adequately disclose the assumptions and techniques used for valuing his assets as outlined in the complaint. Because one of the things Tish James is arguing is he's still engaged in making these fraudulent asset valuations. The order that Tish James is also seeking on an emergency basis would prohibit the Trump Organization from transferring any material asset to a non-party affiliate or otherwise disposing of a material asset without court approval. This is based on the fear of him creating Trump Organization 2, that Trump Organization 1 will try to hide its assets, something that we believe that Alex Jones is doing also in connection with the billion-dollar judgment he was hit with, trying to hide his assets. That's one of the allegations, and it seems pretty much that's what happened, that the plaintiffs have made in connection with the Alex Jones defamation cases. But here, again, to prohibit Trump from trying to make material transfers of assets to affiliated entities without court approval. Also, what the order is seeking is an appointment of an independent monitor. Hey, Trump, you love special masters. You love independent monitors. So why don't we have a special master? It's not technically called a special master, but interestingly, a similar concept, if you will, that the motion is seeking the appointment of an independent monitor until trial that would oversee the submission of financial disclosure informations to any accounting firm compiling the 2022 Statement of Financial Condition, financial disclosures to lenders and insurers required by continuing obligations or to obtain new financing and insurance, and any corporate disposition of significant assets. So in essence, the same way you would have a special master oversee the review of records, here, what Tish James is asking for is let's have an independent monitor, make sure that you are not submitting fraudulent or phony valuations and that you are engaging in lawful conduct and you're not continuing to break the law. And we need to monitor all of your other asset transfers to make sure you're not trying to hide assets to avoid a judgment that we think we are going to get against you. One of the things that Tish James is also asking for is that Trump and his adult children, who purportedly run whatever businesses he claims to run, they've been avoiding and evading service of process of the complaint. And Tish James, the New York Attorney General's office, has been trying to serve them with the document. But of course, Trump runs and runs like the coward that he is away from his problems. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. By the way, everyone's entitled to plead the fifth. As I've said on this show, as I said before on the podcast, it is a constitutional fundamental right to invoke your Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. But when you are out there speaking at these rallies and you are saying what a tough person you are and that all of these things are lies, when you then plead the fifth, I get to call you out and call you a coward. I also saw a comment saying, and I found this to be a very interesting idea. Sure, you've got a constitutional right to invoke the right, the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. But if you invoke it in these contexts in cases like this, should you be allowed to run for public office? And should you be allowed to hold these significant roles at the same time you're invoking a right against self-incrimination? I thought it was a very, very, very interesting comment. But in any event, Trump's been avoiding and running away from the lawsuit. So one of the things this motion that was filed by Tish James asks the court to allow service by email, since Trump and his lawyers are not allowing service to be effectuated. I mean, I just found this portion to be just so interesting, which is beyond the continuation of the fraudulent conduct which Tish James alleges, that she writes that the Trump organization appears to be taking steps to restructure its business to evade the reaches of the Office of Attorney General's lawsuit. On September 21, 2022, the same day the Office of Attorney General filed its lawsuit, the Trump organization registered a new entity with the New York Secretary of State, Trump Organization 2 LLC. That entity is a foreign corporation that was incorporated in Delaware. The Trump Organization has since refused to provide any assurance that it will not seek to move assets out of New York to evade legal accountability. Alina Habba, remember Alina Habba, Trump's lawyer who in connection, remember, with the special proceedings that were taking place with Tish James before the lawsuit was filed, Trump was held in contempt of court for hiding records. And Tish James also filed that lawsuit in the Southern District of Florida for RICO violations, allegedly, which was dismissed as being frivolous. She filed it against like Hillary Clinton and 40 other individuals, and she lost so badly. Her claim was so baseless that the judge there said, I want to assert jurisdiction over sanctions under Rule 11 if those would be, if the defendants in those cases would be inclined to bring them before my court, because this complaint seems to be a shotgun pleading, an inappropriate pleading, that, again, the judge is seeking sanctions there, or may order sanctions against Alina Habba, crippling sanctions there. But you have Alina Habba saying, oh, we're providing assurances, trust us, don't worry, we're not going to transfer any assets. And one of the things Alina Habba has also accused Tish James and the Office of Attorney General of is they said, what this is really about is they're trying to keep this case before Arthur Engoron, who's the judge who was initially assigned this case. One of the things you may have seen from one of our other MeidasTouch videos that Trump's lawyers are trying to do with the Letitia James Attorney General lawsuit is to get that lawsuit transferred away from New York Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron and transfer to the commercial division within the New York court system. And the commercial division usually takes they're great judges there, just takes a really, really long time to get through the commercial docket. Tish James is ready to try this case against Trump in 2023. She filed a notice of related case based on the special proceeding where Trump was deposed and he pled the fifth over 400 times. And Tish James argued, and the New York Attorney General office argued, we already have developed all the information. Judge Engoron presided over that. Just because Trump is the one obstructing and delaying and engaging in contemptible conduct where he's found in contempt doesn't mean that Justice Engoron should not be the one who hears the case. And Trump obviously wants to try to pick a new judge. That's one of Trump's modus operandi. Pick your own judge, not the ones that are previously on the case when they inevitably make bad rulings against you. And Trump wants to delay. And so we're still waiting on a determination on whether it'll get sent to the commercial division decision. It was assigned to Justice Engoron, which is where it still should remain. And one of the things Alina Hobb is saying, oh, you just filed the motion for a preliminary injunction as a tactic, because that's now going to be heard before Justice Engoron, and now that gives him a better stake of having the case. No, it doesn't. I mean, he should have the case to begin with. He's the one who worked on the case before. Why would you assign it to a whole new judge when a judge has overseen these proceedings and understands what the case is about, and where there is an ongoing fraud that is taking place, and where you continue to violate the law? So big filing today. Lots of big legal news today. Trump losing in the Supreme Court his application to vacate the 11th Circuit's order on motion for partial stay, returning the 100 classified records back to the Department of Justice. The January 6th committee ruling 9-0, or making a 9-0 vote, rather, to issue a subpoena, subpoenaing Donald Trump. And now Tish James filing a motion for preliminary injunction here, saying Trump is engaged in an ongoing fraud. I mean, just a day ago, the news just flies so quickly. There was a day ago or 2 days ago, you have a Manhattan federal judge in the Southern District of Florida ordering that Donald Trump will be deposed in the E. Jean Carroll case on October 19th. And Trump went to his social media platform and further defamed E. Jean Carroll, who she's likely going to sue him for the new defamation. A lot going on, and that doesn't even factor in everything that Merrick Garland's been doing with respect to the Oath Keepers prosecution, the fact that a Proud Boy pled guilty to seditious conspiracy. All of this has happened, folks. Let's stay on top of it together. That's why you love the MeidasTouch Network. We're keeping you apprised of all of these developments, but show you how they all link up together. Spread these videos, will you? Show these videos to friends, to family, to colleagues. Let them know the truth. Hit subscribe. It's free to subscribe. Subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch Network. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to you. And if you want to support independent media like this, here's what you can do. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There are different membership tiers there with cool behind-the-scenes access and exclusive podcasts. You could become an honorary producer of the MeidasTouch podcast. Get postcards from me and my brothers and more. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Either way, we just appreciate your support. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Until next time.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.